Hello everyone, welcome to another session of Office Hours. My name is Adrian, I'm the CEO and founder of Groundhogg, and today we're going to be focusing on something that's pretty boring, but as with anything in business, sometimes the boring stuff is the most important, and that is about compliance with some of the most important data protection regulations in the world, GDPR and CASL. These are two different kinds of legislations based on two different countries and organizations, and it is important that if you are an international organization that you understand these laws and that you implement the tools that are available to you in order to remain compliant with them. And as with any office hour session, at any point, if you have a question, what you can do is you can just paste or comment on the live chat, live comments, the comment feed for this broadcast. You can go ahead and just ask your question. I have it right here in front of me. I can see it, and I will repeat your question so that everybody has the benefit of listening to it, and then we'll do our best to answer it right here live on the call. Another couple announcements. Office hours are now on Groundhogg Academy. This session is being recorded and will be published to Groundhogg Academy following the end of this broadcast. So if you want to see a full replay of this in high quality on the Academy site, you can go to Office Hours, just linked in the menu there, and get that. So we're going to be answering a couple questions about compliance. First of all, what is GDPR and CASL? If you're new to email marketing, this may be new terminology to you. If you've been around for a while, you've probably heard of GDPR and CASL before, but for the benefit of everybody, we are going to tackle what those two things are. We're going to tackle why you should probably care about them, what you need to do in order to remain compliant, and some resources where you can go to learn more in the event that you may need some additional steps for compliance. I see some questions coming in the chat, and that's awesome. Questions that aren't specifically related to GDPR and CASL will be held till the main topic is covered, and then at the end of kind of our topic, we'll jump in and dive into the non-related questions to the main topic. So we are keeping a tally of all of the questions that come in that are non-related, and we're going to get to those after. So don't leave. We will get to it, and we will answer it in due time. So let's talk a little bit about GDPR. So GDPR is the General Data Protection Regulation. It is a policy designed to enforce the protection of citizens of the European Union's privacy. This law was really made for larger organizations, Google, Facebook, Salesforce, enterprise level companies. Not necessarily, it wasn't designed to kind of really affect smaller businesses. However, that being said, smaller organizations like ourselves can still very much be held liable if we breach the General Data Protection Regulation. Really, they just wanted to pay out. The reason that this came into effect so quickly was they wanted to pay out from Google, and they fined Google like $5 billion or something. And yeah, so they're paying a lot. Google is paying a lot of money to the European Union. But we can still be held liable, and we should still implement a lot of the strategies or a lot of the requirements of GDPR in order to provide our customers with a good user experience and to avoid any sort of legal challenges that might arise. So if you are marketing to anybody or collecting information from anybody who resides within the European Union, whether you are a Europe-based country or Europe-based company or not, you must implement GDPR, because country or companies even established outside of Europe can still be held liable. So there are a couple keys to GDPR. The first of which is something we call explicit consent, which we'll talk a little bit about more in a moment. The next one is the right to erasure. The next one is data transparency and information disclosure. All of these are key topics to GDPR and something that Groundhogg actually has tools to help you with, so you don't really have to think about it too hard, which is awesome. So the first thing is explicit consent. So explicit consent is essentially whenever you collect somebody's information, they are informing you that they are providing you consent to email them, essentially, or to send them any sort of marketing or transactional information. I have an example here. This is on our registration page, which most people don't come through anymore, but is still there for legacy purposes. Groundhogg may keep me informed about product updates and news via email. It can be as simple as that. You can decide to go further down the rabbit hole in terms of GDPR consent. But essentially what it is you are informing the customer or the user or the subscriber what you plan on using their information for. Right here, product updates and news via email. That is essentially what we are going to be using your email address for. We're going to be sending you email, and it's going to probably have some information about product updates and news regarding Groundhogg. Pretty simple. If you are using their data for other purposes, maybe for doing like research or something, then you need to include exactly what you are planning on using their data for in that text. So when they consent to you using their information in that way. So that's super, super, super important. You have to be very explicit about how you plan on using their information. If you plan on selling their information, then you have to say that. Maybe you're a lead generation company. If you are a lead generation company and they give you an email address, you have to tell them that we actually distribute these leads to other people and we plan on selling them with a possibility or a number of these organizations. Are you okay with that? And that is something that you have to inform the customer of. So the next one is right to erasure. Now, this one has a little bit bigger implications. So essentially, subscribers can inform you that they no longer want you to have their data. And you have to have systems and processes in place to completely erase their data from your system. Now, Groundhogg actually has this built in, which is awesome, so you don't have to think about it too much. If you're using contacts data information in other places, this may have other implications for you, so you might need to think about that a little bit more. So this applies to marketing. So if you have them in the CRM, so Groundhogg, for example, with marketing information, or if you have them in maybe a third party like Zapier or anything else related to kind of like the email and email marketing, SMS related industry, then you have to completely wipe their data from the system. Now, this does not include or rather exclusions to this rule. So areas where you would not erase customer data is anything related to invoices and billing, because you need that for tax purposes, as well as fulfillment and maintaining records in case you ever get audited. So you do not necessarily need to erase any data related to invoices and billing and any sort of legal documents. For example, if you have like a pending court case with somebody and the person who is the plaintiff in that court case requests a right to erasure and they want to erase all their data, you do not have to honor that for legal documents that would be necessarily required for any sort of legal purposes. And that includes maybe if they're sending, or if you sent them emails and they're disputing the sending of those emails, you would not have to necessarily erase their data in that instance. So that is something that you do have to keep into account. Now, if someone goes to Groundhogg, they go to their profile preferences, and there's an image of this here that you can't actually see because my face is in the way. There is an erase profile button. Now, this will automatically erase any sort of non-critical information about this contact, so you don't have to worry about it. You're busy running your business, so Groundhogg will take care of it for you. It won't erase any sort of user profile information. It won't erase any billing. It won't erase anything. Just stuff within the Groundhogg CRM. It won't erase any contracts if you're using our contracts add-on. That stuff will remain because that classifies as legal, etc. So that stuff will all remain safe. Just marketing information, it will anonymize some other stuff. So that's taken care of for you, so you don't have to worry about that. So that's awesome. Information disclosure. So this is the next part. So you essentially are required, upon request, to provide subscribers with all of the data, literally all of it, that you have for them. Again, this process is completely automated for you within Groundhogg. A subscriber can click the download profile, and what that will do is that will send them an email with a description of all of the data that you have, any metadata, any tags, any billing history, etc. Anything that we've been able to collect on them thus far, any tracking, emails they've opened, etc., etc. So that gets all downloaded and sent to them pretty easily. There's not much you have to worry about on that end. If they request more information, maybe from another system, then you, of course, will have to provide that. But from the CRM and marketing side, that is all taken care of for you. Data transparency. This is one that people and businesses kind of like don't really know about and forget to do, however, is extremely important. And I'm going to move my face back down to the bottom right. There we go. So you must disclose on your privacy policy any companies that will at any point process or have access to customer information. This could be a name, an email address, any data that is personally identifiable. You must disclose said information to the customer via your privacy policy. We have this on our own privacy policy. Actually, this is a screenshot from our privacy policy, and it just says something like where we send your data or who has access to your data. Visitor comments may be checked through automated spam detection service. In some cases, we may send your data to a third-party service for the purpose of communication, etc. We do not sell any customer information. Our third-party data providers include Analytics, Facebook, Zoom, Calendly, Google, etc. And then what you also have to do is you have to include a link to the privacy policy of each of those providers. So making sure that you have, so they can essentially recursively go down the privacy policy list. So they'll go to the privacy policy of, say, Facebook, and then they can see all of the third-party data providers for that organization, and they can see essentially what happened to their data by going down the rabbit hole. I don't think anybody actually does that, but it is a requirement of GDPR if you plan on marketing and collecting information for European citizens. Kinds of software that need to be included in this list include anything related to advertising, so Facebook ads or Google ads that you may be doing retargeting using someone's email address. You provide email addresses to Facebook for that purpose, so therefore you have to disclose Facebook. Zapier, if you have information going to and out of Zapier, then you absolutely need to add Zapier to that list. Anything related to scheduling, for example, we use Calendly. You give your information to Calendly. We collect that information. They are a third-party data provider, etc. The list goes on. So anybody in your kind of like linear distribution of technology who has access to customer data, you have to disclose on your privacy policy. So, what do you do to essentially make sure that you are doing everything that you need to do in order to stay compliant with those processes? Well, a couple things. Number one is we have settings in Groundhogg. We have 2 of them, and it does most of the work for you. So you need to go to Groundhogg Settings Compliance and then enable GDPR features. This will add a GDPR checkbox to your forms that will do the whole consent thing. You just add one of the little short codes. I can show you what that looks like. So if I go and add a web form here, there is a field called GDPR. It's just right there. And what you do is you're just going to add that to your form, and you can put your consent text there. You can add any sort of tags that you want as well, insert that. And what that will do is that will map to someone's GDPR consent, which you can view whether they have or not by going to their contact profile. So you want to enable those GDPR settings. If you're not in the European Union, then you don't necessarily need to enable the second one. If you're in the European Union, I would absolutely recommend you enable the second checkbox here, which is do not send email without consent. So it's a little bit iffy. It's a little bit of gray area. Again, smaller organizations kind of get away with a lot more than the larger organizations, since GDPR was designed to essentially reap the rewards of Google's misdata use. But I would absolutely enable the GDPR features one, which enables the download data profile, the GDPR consent box, as well as the right to erasure. And then I would go to Termageddon. Termageddon allows you to generate privacy policies and terms and conditions and all of the good stuff that you absolutely need to have on your website, and use their structure in order to add the third-party data providers to your privacy policy in order to ensure that people stay compliant with that. So let's move on, and we're going to start talking about CASL, the Canadian anti-spam legislation. Now, this is for companies that market and send email to Canadian citizens specifically, and is applicable to organizations within and without Canada. So if you are an American company sending email to Canadian citizens, you need to also be compliant with Canadian anti-spam legislation. You could be held liable cross-border. The purpose of the CASL legislation was originally designed to decrease the amount of spam received by Canadian citizens. We were getting a lot of it, and the government's like, well, we can stop that with a law. It didn't really work because the vast majority of it was coming from Russia, but organizations can be held liable up to $1 million. And in fact, many organizations have already been taken to task by the CRTC, which is the governing body of this legislation in Canada, and has fined anywhere from $250,000 to $1 million per organization. So this is a serious law to take consider if you are an organization within Canada, and especially if you are also outside of Canada. So the keys to CASL, the keys to the CASL, there we go. The keys to the CASL, as it were, is number one, you have to double opt-in subscribers. I'll talk a little bit about what that is in a moment. You have to honor unsubscribes. This seems pretty straightforward, but you got to do it. And no more buying lists. So if you're currently buying email lists as your primary source of generating leads, you can't do that anymore. Sending email to lists that did not go through your own registration process is pretty much a no-no. Now, if you are a buying list, let's say from a lead generation company, and they are distributing leads to you, that's a little bit of a different circumstance. But if you're buying, let's say, a list of like 10,000 people from another business that did something related, and you're just planning on sending a broadcast email to that's spam. You can't do that. Let's talk about double opt-in. So whenever you collect an email address through a form or through a sign-up process, or someone paid for something, or you collected it at a trade show, or let's say you got a business card at a trade show, if you input that email address into your system, the first thing you have to do is send them a confirmation email. It will read something like this. Looks like we have yet to confirm your email address. Confirm your email by clicking this link, and that will bring them to the double opt-in confirmation page in Groundhogg, which is automatically generated for you. If the customer, the subscriber, does not click that confirmation link, you can no longer send them email. You have a specific window of opportunity to get them to confirm, and if they fail to do so, you can no longer send that person any sort of email marketing if they're a Canadian citizen. So how do you do that? And how do you remain compliant with that? How do you keep track of people who are confirmed and unconfirmed? We're actually a Canadian company, so this was really important to us. So it's very much baked into Groundhogg Core. You'll actually have, there are several opt-in statuses, stuff like unconfirmed, confirmed, spammed, etc. Those are all different kinds of opt-in statuses that a contact can have. By default, everybody gets added as unconfirmed. And if you are in Europe or you are in America, then you can basically leave them as confirmed. But if you're a Canadian organization or you're marketing to Canadian citizens, then you have to move everybody to the confirmed list by going through this double opt-in process. And if they don't double opt-in, then you have to stop emailing them, and the system will actually prevent you from emailing them. The way that you do that, you go to the compliance settings in Groundhogg. Groundhogg settings compliance is the tab. And then you can go to, and you can enable the option only sent to confirmed emails. And then you can set essentially your window of opportunity. The default is 14 days. I have it set at 30. And essentially you have 30 days to confirm their email address by sending them either multiple confirmation emails or getting them to confirm in another way, maybe explicitly over the phone. And if they don't do that, well, out of luck, stop emailing them, and that conversation will cease to happen unless they re-opt in at a later date. So if someone fails to confirm their email address, but they re-opt in somewhere, either again through another form or somehow else, then that grace period is reset and you have another 30 days from that point to try and get them to confirm their email address. So if you need any sort of more information about any of these processes, then you can go to our compliance docs that are very much there to help you understand all of this. You go to help.groundhogg.io and it's under getting started, compliance, and there's lots of articles here on how to remain compliant and the compliance settings and what they do and what they mean and all that good stuff. You should also check out the official GDPR articles if you're a lawyer or you're a legal-minded person. I'm sure that will provide a great reading opportunity for you. It's pretty heavy. It looks like this, and we went through it for you so that you don't have to. And we basically made all those settings so that it took into account all of this good stuff. But you should have a look at that if you're a legal-minded person, just for your own information and for your own knowledge. So good stuff there. Also check out the official CASL legislation. Again, if only for your own knowledge and to understand a little bit better why it is that you need to be in compliance with these pieces of legislation. So I'd highly recommend you go check that out as well. Okay, so let's talk about some tools that will additionally help with all of this stuff. I mentioned one before, and that's Termageddon. Termageddon will allow you to generate terms, privacy policy, terms and conditions, and provide you a structure to add all of that stuff so that you remain compliant with GDPR. And all of the other new legislations like the California one and new states in America are coming up with new legislations all the time. So Termageddon will help you stay in compliance with all of those and be legally sound. Also, Zero Bounce. We have an integration, a list cleaning tool called Zero Bounce. And if you are getting lots of leads, then you may want to ensure that the emails coming in are in fact legitimate and you're not spamming anybody by accident. You can use Zero Bounce in order to clean emails as they come in and prevent any sort of legal trouble that may result in lots and lots of leads and you kind of losing track of that. So you can go check that out as well. So now is the point where if you have questions totally unrelated to compliance, we're going to answer them. I didn't see a whole bunch come in for the actual compliance, so I guess hopefully I did a really good job of explaining all that. I actually need to scroll down in order to see some stuff. Karsten says that in Germany/Europe, you have to double opt-in. You have to do the double opt-in thing as well. Yeah, so GDPR is also kind of like built on top of CASL in that way. You have to double opt-in people. I should probably mention that. So if we go back to this whole thing, double opt-in, you have to do that in the European Union as well, in addition. So thank you for bringing that up, Karsten. Louise asks, is it possible to add the GDPR checkbox in a form designed in Elementor? Yeah, so if you're using Elementor, then what you need to do is just add a regular checkbox, and the GDPR field in Groundhogg, the GDPR consent field in Groundhogg, is actually mappable from that drop down. So if you can select the drop down for GDPR, and you just need to map an Elementor checkbox to that field, and that will automatically provide the GDPR consent required in Groundhogg. So hopefully that answers your question. And there's another question. How can I customize the email confirmation, unsubscribe, and preference change pages? You can't. You cannot customize those from a text standpoint unless you're translating it, or from a design standpoint. This is on purpose, and is meant as a way to ensure that anybody using Groundhogg remains compliant. These pages are designed deliberately with compliance in mind and by providing customers with an easy way to access, revoke, consent, and access their data. So it's not easily customizable. If you need to translate the text, that's a different story. You can use a plugin called Loco Translate. And this will allow you to translate the text on those pages if you need to translate it into another language. You cannot modify the design, style, or options of this area. And this is, again, to keep you compliant for your own protection and for all of that good stuff. This is pretty much set in stone. So hopefully that answers your question. You'll find that most, very, very few email marketing providers provide the opportunity to edit this page in any way, shape, or form. Besides maybe a couple of them showing you lists that you can opt in or out of. But beyond that, it's pretty much set in stone. Let's see. Okay, so there's another question from Louis. Hopefully I'm pronouncing your name right. I don't know, is it Louis or Louis? It's or Luis. I'm sorry if I'm pronouncing it totally incorrectly. You'll have to send me the phonetic spelling of your name. You see, Louis says the pages are a different design than our site and might think that it is phishing. I don't think that's, I mean, you could be right. I don't necessarily think that would be much of a deterrent. There is several key indicators here providing that the unsubscribe page is in fact legitimate. If I go to it. So the first thing is obviously your logo is there. You have links to your privacy policy, your edit profile. We have their email address here, so we already have their information, so it's unlikely that it would be phishing. And this looks pretty similar and is modeled after some other large organizations' preferences page, notably HubSpot, MailChimp, ConvertKit, Infusionsoft. We went to all of theirs and we had to look and see what other people were doing and kind of modeled it after that. This would look no different than you would experience going to any of those other providers' email preferences pages. So I wouldn't necessarily worry about that, but there's no way for you to modify this design in any way, simply because this is the most compliant, and we want to keep it that way. That may not be the answer that you're looking for, but that's currently the reality of the situation. You had another question earlier, Louis. You wanted to add a meta field to a contact with the date he made a website purchase, and you also wanted to add a benchmark that includes all contacts that made a purchase in the last 30 or 60 days. Let's talk about that a little bit. So I'm assuming you're using WooCommerce for this, so I'm going to have to go enable some stuff real quick and update some stuff as well. So let's activate WooCommerce. I need to wait for stuff to update first. Okay, so let's go update the WooCommerce integration. Where's that? There it is. And I need to update or activate WooCommerce, which is all the way down here. And I'm not going to go through that process. Dismiss. Unfortunately, I don't have WooCommerce set up on this site, but let's go to funnels. So if you want to set up a system where someone receives an email 30 days after they purchase, then this is how you go ahead and do that. So I'm going to create a new funnel. And I am going to add a benchmark at the top here called product purchased. And you can select the various different conditions that you want to satisfy that benchmark. And then I am going to add a delay timer. So I'm going to go to actions and I'm going to add a delay timer. And I'm going to set this for 30 days and then run immediately. Now what this will do is anybody who purchases a product will then wait 30 days. And then if you want to send them an email, say to reorder something, you just send them an email. Now, this is essentially the same as anybody who hasn't purchased in the 30 days should receive an email. This is exactly the same thing. We are just preemptively adding those people to a funnel, and then we can send them an email after those 30 days is complete. It's exactly the same thing and acts in the exact same way. So product purchase benchmark, delay timer for 30 days, send them an email to reorder or go back to the store, and anything like that good stuff. So, and when they purchase a product again, so let's say we have a reorder campaign that's like delay timer, email, delay timer. And we basically do this 3, 10, 9 times, however many times you want to do, send that email. As soon as they reorder, the way that Groundhogg works is that they will be shipped right back to the top of the funnel and restart that 30-day process and then receive those emails every time they go through that reorder process. You can modify this a little bit, maybe with the conditional logic extension and get a little bit more deeper into the weeds with that. But that is pretty much a very, very, very basic way. Very basic way that you can fulfill that process. The second thing that you wanted to do was you wanted to add a meta field with the date that they purchased. You can do this as well. So what I'm going to do is that we have this product purchase benchmark, and I have an action here, and one of them is called edit meta. And what you can do is you can, I think this should work, just add a meta key, and then I think you can add replacement codes here. And you can do something like date, and then give it the format year, month, day. And I think that should do today just fine. And I think that should work. I'll have to double check. But you can use the edit meta step. You can add a meta key of date purchased, and then you can use the date replacement code, which can be found here with a little bit of instructions. And I should probably put this here too today, and then that will add the date to that custom person, and then you'll be able to use this in other places. So hopefully that answers your 2 questions. Delay timer for 30 days, then you can do all your emails, and then use the edit meta step to add that thing after the product purchased benchmark. John says, hey Adrian, thanks for your help with Cartflows. Any plans to allow us to customize the redirect page on double opt-in? Again, no. It's all about compliance, and we want to make sure that all of our users, none of our users get in any trouble. It is open source, so there is a potential for you to override some templates and some whatnot, but we're not going to be making it easy to do that through the UI, simply because a lot of people don't understand compliance, and by providing those options, people can get themselves into trouble that we don't want them to necessarily be able to get into. So no, we're not going to have an option to redirect from the confirmation page. Once they get to the confirmation page, that's pretty much the end of the journey as it is. Simply because a lot of people don't understand compliance, and if you do understand compliance, I applaud you. but we're not going to be adding that into the UI or making it easy by any stretch of the imagination. So hopefully that makes sense, and our reasoning for wanting to do that is clear. Louis has a follow-up question to this funnel that actually we were just talking about. And John has a reply as well. So let's talk with John because we're just on that topic. ConvertKit allows you to click the link to download the freebie and double confirm at the same time. Cool. If ConvertKit allows you to do that. Currently, we don't allow you to do that. And so, yeah. That's cool that they do that. Maybe that's something that we can look to, and we can look into some of the legal implications of that. However, we don't currently provide that at this time and probably won't be in the near future, although that's something that we can look into a little bit deeper. But thank you for bringing that up. Louis has a question regarding the funnel that we just built. He asks, my query is not a recurring case, but a new campaign in which I want to offer product A to customers who have bought in the last 30 or 60 days product B. Well, let me think about the best way to do that. Well, I mean, the roundabout way to do it, Louis, would be to export the orders for said product in the last 30, 60 days. You can probably do that with WooCommerce. So if I go to WooCommerce reports, sales by product, you can select which product you want. And yeah, look right there. So there's an export CSV button. So you can select anybody who selected X products within the last 30 to 60 days. You can export that CSV. And then what you can do is you can import that CSV and use the email column, because they'll probably provide you with an email column, hopefully. Go ahead and import that through Groundhogg, and then you can apply a tag to them, and then you can maybe use that tag to either send them a broadcast email or start a funnel. That's the roundabout way to do it. There's no search column currently that would allow you to do that. Like, there's nothing in the search area for that kind of thing. However, if you were to if the only way people are getting added to your list are through purchases, then the created date of that contact would also reflect their last purchase, or at least their initial purchase. And you could maybe filter by date when people were created or when contacts were created based on their purchases, although that's certainly a lot less, that would be a lot less clear than exporting the list of purchases and then re-uploading and applying that tag and whatnot. So it's, yeah, so there's no like super simple way in the UI to do that right now, Louis. So I'm sorry to say, export the list for the last however many days that you want, and then import that with some sort of tag, and then you'll be able to either start a funnel or start a broadcast with those people. Karsten asks, is there a feature to call funnel B from funnel A? Funnel A ends, and instead of just ending that one, it could start funnel B for further contact with the customer. No, but you could just do that using tags. There's no reason why you might want to, let's say, go from funnel, and at the end of this funnel, let's say I'll just add another one, start from scratch. Let's say that there's 20 or so steps in between here. I have this apply tag step, and I want to start funnel B. Save. And then I can go create yet another funnel. And then, in addition to whatever starting conditions I want at this funnel, I can also add an additional benchmark. I can have 2 at the top here and then use my funnel B tag here. And this would essentially act in the same way. If you don't want people to maintain that tag or to keep having that tag, you can just instantly remove it. So that way they get the tag, they get added to the new funnel, the tag is removed instantly so that you can keep that process going maybe on a recurring basis. So that's how I would do it, but there's no like add this person to funnel from this funnel at the end when this happens. I would just do it using tags. That's probably like the easiest way to keep track of it. And then again, you can just remove the tag if you don't want them to have that on a persistent and recurring basis. So hopefully, Karsten, that answers your question. That's how I would do it. Or you can just keep on adding stuff to the end of a funnel. Totally up to you how you want to tackle that. So we're about almost at the 45-minute mark. I'm going to give it another minute or so for any other questions that you want to ask. Feel free to pop those in the comments. I'm happy to answer any of them. Otherwise, we're going to start ending or wrapping up this session of Office Hours. If you're coming in late or you coming in at the right tail end of this, or you want to watch a replay, everything that we've talked about, discussed, questions, and everything will be available on Groundhogg Academy in the replay. We're posting all replays of Office Hours to Groundhogg Academy these days, so you can always go there to watch the full thing all over again. If you just love participating and want to keep on experiencing the lovely information that is shared during this session. Dano asks, Groundhogg has so many different ways to set up email. I'd love to hear a simple explanation of how to make the best choice. Yes, there are lots of ways and lots of providers for email, and I think that's where the question is coming from, is which provider do I use? All I can say is Groundhogg, we ourselves use AWS, Amazon SES as our email provider. And we like it. It's a very developer-oriented platform, but it takes care of like bounces and complaints and spam and all of that good stuff. So we like it for that. It's really a developer-oriented platform, though. So if you're not a developer, then I would go for something like SendWP because it's easy, or SendGrid, again, because it's easy and relatively inexpensive at like $15 a month. So those are like my 3 kind of official recommendations when anybody asks me which SMTP or which email provider do I use. It really comes down to one of 3 choices. AWS, if you can deal with Amazon and you're a developer-oriented person, then that one would make sense and you can go through that process. If you're not a developer-oriented person, then it's either SendGrid, if you want to have sort of like that dedicated outside transactional SMTP service, or if you're okay with a like straight cut $9 a month WordPress dedicated service, then SendWP makes a great option as well. Those are my 3 official recommendations. So Daniel, if you're listening to this, that's pretty much, those are like the official recommendations from me. Of course, there are a ton of other email providers. The only things I'll say that you should never use, Outlook and Gmail. If you are using either of those services as your SMTP provider, you should stop immediately and reconsider your life choices. No, but seriously, you should go for a dedicated SMTP service that sends millions of transactional emails. The reason that you should use those is those providers are dedicated to ensuring the high deliverability rate of their emails, and they maintain relationships with other ISPs so that you can deliver. Gmail and Outlook do not do that. They are the ISPs, so they don't do any of that maintenance stuff. Their service is not meant to send transactional marketing email. So if you're using those services, stop. Samantha asks, I created a funnel and it says 0 active contacts, but I had 7 form submissions. So active contacts are based on people that are currently in the waiting status. It's a little bit of a, yeah, we get it. If you had 7 form submissions, people are probably going through your funnel, and I wouldn't necessarily worry about it. The active number is dependent on people who are currently within the funnel with a status of waiting on something, either like a timer or an email or whatever. But if they've gone through the funnel in full, or they've reached a point where you're waiting for them to complete a separate benchmark, they won't necessarily show as active. I would go into the funnel and look at the reporting and see where people are for a realistic view of what the active number is. A little iffy from actually just seeing who's currently in the funnel, and we can expect to continue through the funnel. The reporting is the best place to go for that, Samantha. Carson asked, will this video be on the YouTube channel? Yes. So all of our office hours are being posted directly to YouTube. We're not putting it on Vimeo, and the YouTube also gets embedded on the Academy site. So this will be pushed to YouTube. All of our other office hours are also on YouTube as well, Karsten. So you can go there to consume that information. Samantha, just to follow up. So active doesn't mean the number of people who have gone through it. No. Active and the number of people who have gone through it are two different numbers. We're currently thinking of ways to make that distinction a little bit clearer. But no, you should always look at the actual funnel reporting, open the funnel, and just toggle reporting, and boom, you can have a look at the people where they are, the various different steps. Let's go ahead and refresh. There's actually like a graph here that shows up. That's kind of nice to look at. Let's show you a good one. If I go to... Let's open up a fun funnel to look at. Funnels. So if you open up the reporting and you click that reporting toggle, you can see this fun little graph with lots of lots of numbers. We're working on making the whole reporting experience a little bit better, but you can actually see at what point people are currently in the funnel and how many people have gone through the funnel and what steps within a certain time range. You can select different time ranges from this drop down here, and you can see everything that's happening on within your funnel. So hopefully that answers your question, Samantha. Yeah, so we only started, so Carson asked, I just found office hours starting from 28. That's why I asked. Thanks for your time doing this. Yeah, we only started really recording and doing it a little bit more professionally and with the branding, with the slides and with that stuff from number 28, which is why it's only on YouTube from number 28. But from now on, we'll be doing that in this a little bit more high quality format. So, okay, we're at 10:51 right now. So I think we're going to wrap it up. I want to thank everybody who spent their last 50 minutes with me. I am appreciative of the time, and I am appreciative of the attention that you've provided. Compliance, which has been the theme of this particular office hours session, is extremely important. And if you're showing up if you're showing up late, then I'd highly recommend that you watch the replay in order to get the full benefit of the information that I shared. So let's talk about some resources. Again, this will be posted on Groundhogg Academy after the fact. You can go to academy.groundhogg.io to view previous office hours, as well as take a couple of our courses. Currently on there, we have a quick start course as well as Course Creators Essentials. Both of those are free and should be great to consume. If you need implementation help, then go to our certified partner directory. We have over 30 partners who are dedicated to helping you solve your problems and overcome any challenges. You can find a partner that's near you and reach out to them from our certified partner directory, and hopefully have a great relationship. If you think Groundhogg is a terrific software and you have a colleague that may be interested in using it or may benefit from it, then you can head to our affiliate registration area where you can sign up and become an affiliate and earn 10% commissions on anything or any referrals that you give. So, super great. You should absolutely follow us on Facebook by liking our Facebook page. You should follow us on Twitter. We post tweets sometimes, and they're great. And you should also subscribe to us on YouTube. All of our stuff, all of these office hours are getting posted to YouTube. So if you follow us there, you'll be the first to know when a replay is available. So, and it would be remiss to end without talking a little bit about reviews. So if you decide to leave us a review, that will help us get more customers, which allows us to get more developers, which means we can build more features that you want and love. Please go to wordpress.org/plugins/groundhog, and I would be extremely appreciative if you took the time to leave us a wonderful 5-star review. I know Samantha's on here, and she left one yesterday, so I want to thank Samantha for doing so. We're currently sitting around 45. I'd love to be able to bump that up to 50 and get that going. So thank you in advance for those of you who decide to take the time to do that. If you have questions after the fact from this broadcast, please, you can either comment after the broadcast is finished. We'll continue to monitor them. You can also post on the Facebook group. That's what the Facebook group is for. You can reach out to us at GroundhogWP on both Facebook and Twitter. Use our chat, and you can reach out to us info@groundhog.io if you have any other questions. Thank you, everybody, for joining me. I hope you have a wonderful day and enjoy the rest of your week.